Hello everyone, welcome to our short, easy listening story part. In this episode, my partner, Jeyhoon, and I will tell you some stories to let you improve your English listening skills. But before we start, I recommend you to click the link down below the video to learn some words related to topics and test your English through quizzes. Hello, Jeyhoon. I've made only 2 stories for our listeners in this episode. How about you?
Hello, Carla. I have only made 1 story for today. If everyone is ready, let's get started to hear our first story.
My story is about a girl who loves living in the village. There was a girl named Jessica who lived with his family. She was 27 years old. She had a rich family. Her father very often was taking business trips to foreign countries to promote his company. She could see her father's face from time to time. Her father was feeling old enough to manage his business outside the country. He wanted to retire from his work and enjoy the life. He was bored of living in town and hearing people's noise everywhere. So he decided to buy a house in a village where only a few people lived. One night, he told everyone that he had already bought a house in the village and wanted to live there. Jessica felt upset when she heard his father's decision. She didn't want to live there. She stated that there was nothing interesting living. No cafe, no library, or other different places to go, she said. Her father said, "You can stay here in town if you like." Later, she changed her mind and said, "All right, I'll come and live with you. If I don't like living there, I'll return here." Few weeks later, they moved their new home in the village. They could only hear the chirping sound of birds, flow of rivers falling from the mountains, and drizzling rain. On the first week of her stay in the village, she felt alone. But she was an artist, drawing beauty of everything which is real to her. She decided to go to a mountain nearby to find something interesting to draw. She had to climb to the mountain to catch attractive scenes for her drawing, and she really did it. When she reached to the peak, she found out that everything from top appears more realistic to her. She was very happy to seize the moment and that beautiful scene. She drew the beauty of the village that lies under her feet. She decided to come back there again the next day and make some drawings. When she came back home, she saw her dad making barbecue outside for dinner. She approached her father and thanked him a lot. She said, "All right, I can live with you here because there are many beautiful places here to see and draw."
The story is about a man who never gave up his dream. There was a man named Joseph. He was 24 years old at that time. He always dreamt about being a rich man. He was a poor man. He lived with his family. His father had a big land. He was a farmer, growing some vegetables in a small part of his land. He was selling them to his customers. He was an old man. He couldn't manage to work anymore in the field. Joseph mostly used to help his father, but he wanted to create his own business by following what his father had taught him. He had to find a better way to make the business more profitable. He knew that he had to learn and study a lot to make his plan become real. Joseph always used to watch some interesting videos related to farming on the internet. He followed many farming channels on YouTube to get many useful ideas. He gained some beneficial knowledge over the next months related to farming and animal husbandry. He made a decision to put the knowledge he gained into practice. He told his ideas to his father about farming and animal husbandry. His father liked the ideas he had. He stated that he at least needed 4 years to implement them. He had to use a big part of the land that his father possessed. Firstly, he had to plant clover, rice, and wheat in a big part of the land so that he could feed his poultry and cattle over the next years. In course of time, he wouldn't be dependent anymore on paying extra money for his animal business. In the beginning, he had 2 cows, 4 sheep, and 20 turkeys. He also made a plan about how to increase the number of animals that he possessed. But he was well aware that he needed to have the finance to make his plans come true. As they were poor, he decided to find alternative work to earn extra money. He saved some money within a year. He used his savings to buy some types of equipment that he could utilize for cultivation and harvesting on his farm. With the rest of his savings, he increased the number of animals in a small amount, such as goose, dog, hen, and calf. He had to fight against some insects by using pesticides, so he could harvest well enough from the soil. On his plantation, he improved the irrigation system. It took nearly 2 years to develop it. He used organic fertilizers for his plantation in the soil. His cows were grazing at meadows and pastures which he grew. He worked very hard over the next 4 years. He experienced many difficulties along the way, but he never gave up his dreams. He is now a very rich man in his country. There are lots of workers already working for him in his agriculture. This is the story of Joseph. How about you, Carla? What's your next story about?
My next story is about a woman from my neighborhood. Many years ago, there lived a woman who was very quarrelsome in my neighborhood. Most of my neighbors didn't like her behaviors. One night, while I was sleeping in my bed, a thief sneaked into my house. At that time, I was having a dream. In my dream, I saw that I was listening to tranquility of the river in the middle of the forest. While I was listening to it, suddenly I heard a crackling sound coming from the bush. Then I saw a wolf chewing the prey in its mouth. That scene horrified me. I immediately woke up and drank a glass of water nearby. My husband was at business trip. I was alone at home that night. I tried to sleep back, but later on, I heard another crackling sound coming from the kitchen. I felt terrified. What sound could it be? I asked myself. Then I began to go near the door and listened. There was somebody in the kitchen. It was a thief looking for something valuable to steal. He knew that I was in the bedroom. My heart was beating so fast. Who could help me in the middle of the night? I said, Unfortunately, I had left my phone on the table in the kitchen. I couldn't call the police. While thinking what I could do, suddenly I saw a light coming from the next building. It was my neighbor watching on TV. That moment, I immediately took a paper and wrote that there was a theft in my kitchen at present. Please call the police. I opened the window slightly and waved the paper to the left and right. But it didn't draw her attention. Afterwards, I used the flashlight that I took from my drawer. I made it wink for many times to draw her attention. She saw me from the window. I let her read my call for help on the paper. My neighbor immediately went to the kitchen and got her hammer as soon as she read it. She called to the police station. She called out to everyone living around before the police arrived. Few minutes later, many people gathered around and joined her. She came to my door and knocked on it. I was so scared to open it because the thief had hidden in the kitchen. Minutes later, she broke into my house by breaking the door by the help of people near her. When she entered the living room, she found nobody around because the thief had hidden in the kitchen. Then I ran into the living room by screaming. I said, "He's in the kitchen!" The woman by herself went into the kitchen and saw the thief. She punched on his face 4 times and knocked him down. When the policemen arrived, they saw the thief lying on the floor. I thanked her for saving my life in-house. Everyone who saw her heroism in saving my life appreciated a lot.